Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name's Kia and welcome to Ask an Armourer. Today I'll be walking you through how to diagnose a problematic bodycord. Now, there are two primary categories of breaks that can occur. The first are visually obvious, that are easy to recognize as problems, and the second are internal and a little harder to find. I'll walk you through how to find both in this video. Let's get started. To test a bodycord and find where the problem is, you're going to need three tools. The first is your bodycord. The second, you'll need a pen or pencil and a pad of paper. And the third, you're going to need a multimeter that can make it down to a 1 ohm resistance setting. This is important because most multimeters actually only go down to a 10 ohm resistance setting. This means that whatever readings you're getting are actually that number multiplied by 10. And since we're looking for resistances of 1 ohm or less, you can see why this would be a problem and mean that you're not actually getting an accurate reading. First, set up your reference diagram. This is simply drawing the two ends of your bodycord in a clear way to make note of any issues you find and their locations, both from the first visual check and then the internal check. This is very helpful so you don't get to the end of your diagnostics and find you can't remember which line or end actually had the problem and need to do it all over again. Now, when I set up my diagram, I do so in the following way. I start by drawing the three-prong end. It's the same for all of them, so it's the easiest. And then the corresponding end just below it to clearly indicate which line holds with which. Epee is the easiest because it has the same on both ends. I just tie a loose knot in one side, which corresponds to this circle, to give me an indication of which end actually has the problem. For bayonet, my alligator clip corresponds over here to my C line, and then my bayonet end, these little rectangles indicate the screws, either the one farther at the end or the one closer to the base of the connector. Finally, for my two-prong end, again we have our alligator clip, and then I draw my larger A-line prong, this double dash, and my smaller B-line one as a single dash. Finally, I mark good lines with a check mark to indicate that there's no problems with that one and I don't need to bother with it when I'm doing repairs. Or, if I find a problem, I mark it with an X both along the line and along the end where I find it. So this example here, there is a break along the A line at the three-prong end. This one, as an example, there is a break on the B line in the bayonet connection end. You're welcome to use the same diagram style or develop your own that makes more sense to you. Now we can start the visual check. This will serve the double purpose of indicating any obvious issues as well as telling you if you need any spare parts. If you're missing parts, you'll need to gather those as well as your tools before you can begin to repair your cord. So what do you actually look for when you're doing this visual check? Well, I start with, first I look for if there's any broken or disconnected cords that are hanging out of the casing. These will be very obvious as the end will be coming out and will tell you that there is a clear cut right there that needs to be repaired. I would make a note of this on my diagram. The second thing I look for is any cracked casings. So if there's a hairline fracture or if there's a chunk out of a corner, anything like that, just to make sure my cases are truly protecting the ends and that there won't be any other issues with that in the future. The third thing I look for if there's any missing prongs, as well as if there's a missing alligator clip or if the solder has failed on the alligator clip. I make sure that if I'm using a two-prong cord, I have this retaining clip, and I make sure that I have all of these screws holding my cases together. If you see any of the above problems, take a moment to find replacement parts and make note of the issue on your diagram. However, if you don't see any obvious problem, you likely have an internal break along one or more of the lines. In this case, you'll need to isolate where the issue is, i.e. which line and what end of the cord have the break. Now, this is where you need your multimeter. To get your multimeter set up, make sure the dial is pointed to the 1 ohm setting. If your multimeter is analog like mine, the additional step you need to do is to calibrate your multimeter. This just means you touch the 2 probes together and adjust the dial to move the needle to 0. This ensures whatever resistance is present in the multimeter system does not influence your diagnostics. And if you have a probe style multimeter attachments, you can either carefully use those and just manually hold them against the prongs, or use a double-ended clip attachment like these for easier manipulation. To start, attach the probes to both prongs along the A line of your Bodycord. If you're working on an épée cord, this step is easy as both ends are the same and you just need to match which prong you've clipped it to. For 2-prong, the A-line prong of the 3-prong end connects to the larger prong of the 2-prong end, and for bayonet, the A-line prong of the 3-prong end connects to the screw at the base of the bayonet connector. Once your probes are secure, take a look at your multimeter. Right now we're measuring the resistance along line A of your cord. If the needle is holding below 1 ohm like this is a good sign that we have connection. Now, to make sure we don't have a partial break, bend the cord back and forth at both ends, one at a time, while watching the multimeter reading. Make sure to only move one side at a time so you know which end is broken. If the needle holds still or the numbers don't change, this is good and means there is no issue with this line. If the needle moves or the numbers go up, this indicates the wire is starting to break and will need to be fixed. Make a note of this on your diagram. Now repeat this process for lines B and C as well. For épée, this just means moving across each end so long as you're on the matching prongs. For 2-prong cords, the B-line prong of the 3-prong end corresponds to the smaller prong on the 2-prong end, and the C-line prong corresponds to the alligator clip. In bayonet cords, the B-line prong of the 3-prong end corresponds to the screw at the tip of the connection end, and same as in the 2-prong, the C-line connects to the alligator clip. Test each line in the same way and make note of any issues you find on your diagram. One interesting problem you may run across is that 2 lines may seem to be completely dead, which means that you would be holding at infinite resistance, which is what the default is right now on the system. If you find this, try switching the probe from one end to the second dead prong. I'll show you this on the 2-prong line. If, for example, both A and B seem to be completely dead, try attaching the A line to the B prong end or the B line to the A line prong on the 2-prong end. It could be a simple matter of these lines got crossed, but ultimately work. I marked this on my diagram with a double-headed arrow like so. After all of your tests, you'll have a well-marked diagram that indicates what and where any problems with your Bodycord are. And there's a few possible outcomes from your testing. The first, there was no issue. Your Bodycord's repaired. Good job. The second is that while there was conductivity in your Bodycord, it's at too high a resistance and therefore will need to be adjusted to be below the 1 ohm requirement. The third possibility is that there's an actual break or partial break in one or more spots that will need to be repaired. The fourth possibility is that your alligator clip is missing and needs to be replaced. The fifth possibility is that your wires have gotten crossed and need to be returned to their usual places. And the sixth possibility is that your retaining clip on your 2-prong Bodycord is missing and needs to be replaced. Once you've determined what and where the issue is, it's time to move on to repairs. Go ahead and see my other videos for specific issues. Thanks all, and I hope this video was useful. If you have got any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them for me below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.